Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we're discussing a Rolex Certified Pre-Owned Oyster Perpetual Cosmograph Daytona, but this is from the 90s. It's a 5-digit reference. The 16519 in white gold with a pink mother-of-pearl dial. The window for this watch to be made and delivered was incredibly narrow, making it an extraordinary collectible, even from the Zenith movement era. So let's start with the basics. This is the design of the watch as it existed from 1988 to 1999. 40 millimeters, screw-down crown, automatic winding, caliber 40-30 on the inside. In white gold, really gray gold, more on that in a moment. 40 in diameter. The watch in profile measures 12.5 millimeters thick, 47.6 millimeters from lug to lug. It's a 20 millimeter spacing in between the lugs. We'll throw it on my wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference, and the watch fits beautifully. I've always thought that the watch with a strap is a better fit on a small wrist because it doesn't have the extension of the solid end links. So if you do want to wear this watch on a smaller wrist, the strap is the way to go. My wrist is 16 centimeters circumference. I've got plenty of clearance on either side of the lugs. I've seen women with wrists of 13.5 centimeters circumference wear this watch successfully, so I'm going to declare that as the lower limit for fit and size. And of course, it is very flat. It'll fit easily underneath a dress cuff. The strap's a good looking piece. Of course, this is Rolex Certified Pre-Owned, so you wouldn't have anything but a Rolex strap on there. Calfskin on the bottom, and this lovely honey-colored leather on the top. Medium rectangular scale alligator leather with a lovely contrasting stitch here. You can see we use a folded edge rather than the conventional sheer cut profile. We have a buckle, by the way, this watch with a 1999 A serial. The buckle is specific to the generation. Oddly enough, you'll see 6 digits that continue to use bracelets that are labeled 16519, but if you look inside the clasp, you could see code U, which corresponds to 1998 manufacturer of the clasp, which makes sense for a 1999 watch. Taking a look at the case, gray gold. I mentioned it before. It is a white gold alloy that is white all the way through, so it never needs to be rhodium plated, and if it does get scratched, it's the same color underneath. Elegant, handsome case profile. You can see that we have these little inserts at the end of the strap. It's easiest to see from the bottom, but if you look from the bottom, you can see how recessed those inserts are. They're nowhere near the bottom of the lugs. They're really just little, I guess you could call them toupees for the strap on either side that help to close the gap to the case. There's not a big space between the end of the strap and the edge of the case. So if you have a Rolex that was built from the factory with a strap, you're going to have these little closures or plugs at the end of the case. It does require removing the bezel to swap those out. If you ever wanted to put this on a bracelet, that can be done by a Rolex watchmaker. Do not attempt to do it yourself. Screw down crowns. You can see 100-meter water resistance. Even then, they were 100-meter watches. You can see we've got a triplock crown in gold. You know that because it's 3 dots, but the center dot is the largest. The lacquer, as well as the indices and the characters on the bezel, still well preserved. Interesting thing about the white gold 5-digit Daytona, it didn't actually debut until about halfway through the 1997 model year. So you had part of 97, 98, and 99 to buy a white gold 5-digit Daytona. It was not a common thing. Add the pink mother-of-pearl dial, and now we're talking rarefied company indeed. That's exactly what we've got here. It is a natural material, the pink mother-of-pearl. It has distinct lateral striations, and I don't think you're getting the best impression of it in my light box. It is more distinctly pink when you see it in person. The crown, the numerals, the hands, all white gold. They will not tarnish or oxidize. You know you're looking at a Zenith-powered Daytona because it's got the running seconds at 9 o'clock. There's other ways to tell, but that's the most obvious. The watch does have that caliber 40-30, which, far from being simply a no-date, slow-beat El Primero, it's really Rolex's own work. Rolex did a lot to change the El Primero 400Z back then. So let's start with the basics. The watch is a 4 hertz escapement, not 5 hertz like a Zenith El Primero. For conservative reasons, Rolex went with a 4 hertz beat rate. There is, of course, no date visible, although some of the underlying mechanism is still there. It's an automatic winder with a bidirectional winding action, but it's not the old El Primero system, which is kind of finicky, delicate, and highly dependent on springs. No, it's the Rolex perpetual system with the Teflon-coated reversing wheels. So Rolex put its own winding system on the El Primero for the sake of durability. It winds a 50 to 52-hour power reserve. All the still pivots on the 31 jewels, the original El Primero, but Rolex goes and adjusts it in 5 positions and certifies it as a chronometer. Other Rolex changes, including replacing the flat hairspring with an overcoil Breguet profile and replacing the mobile stud index regulation system with a Rolex free-sprung regulator and a balance that uses Rolex's micro-stella variable inertia screws for fine-tuning. So it is a chronometer. It is still a column wheel chronograph that has a very crisp column wheel action, but unlike the 6-digit Daytonas with the in-house caliber, this one uses a lateral clutch, so there's a little bit of a jump or stagger when you start the chronograph. Also, it does not have a hacking seconds function because that wasn't part of the game back in the 90s. If you love this watch, it's a really cool piece and one you'll have trouble ever replicating. They're hard to find out in the world, especially in this condition, and it's tough to find one with a 2-year Rolex Certified Pre-Owned factory-backed warranty. Our timepiece that I consider to be some of the best of the 90s, the thing about the 88 to 99 Daytona was that it was the origin of the modern Cosmograph design. If you look at the watch as it existed from 1963 to 1987, it looks anachronistic, it looks vintage. In 1988, with this design, Rolex essentially created the perfect Rolex watch. While there have been many changes to the sub, the Day-Date, the GMT Master 2, the Explorer 2 since then, the Day-Date, all those watches, well, flagships, icons, undoubtedly evergreen, none of those models have been as unchanged as the Daytona since 1988. This is a watch that is truly timeless. It's the 911 of sports watches. Reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details. Rolex Certified Pre-Owned watches are backed and authenticated by Rolex. Should any reconditioning be necessary, it will be to a Rolex certified standard, and any parts invested Rolex factory original. Should the initial retail box, paper, and accessory set still accompany the watch, it will be included with the sale. But no matter what, a certified pre-owned box and paper set starts with an outer box, a leatherette travel pouch with suede lining, a warranty card that embodies the 2-year globally valid Rolex-backed warranty. Note this is not a retail warranty, but backed by Rolex and actionable at any of its authorized points of sales and service. A leatherette wallet includes the warranty terms and conditions manual. A holographic hang tag marks this as a certified pre-owned Rolex watch, and a manual details Rolex's values as a company, the certified pre-owned program, care, feeding, service, and use of your Rolex, locations of points of sales and service, and details of Rolex.com. Rolex certified pre-owned watches are backed only by Rolex.